interestingly, is what he's going to talk about. And what he's going to talk about is the need of a talk show on European level, the need to bring humor back into politics. And I would like to welcome our first speaker of tonight, Greg Shapiro.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Koen, for that welcome. And yeah, this is me, Greg Shapiro, the American Netherlander. And yeah, I grew up in America, speaking the language called loud. Moved to the Netherlands, where I have learned my second language called Doe maar gewoon. Yeah, trouwens ben ik tweetalig, but I'm not allowed to speak Dutch because of corona and droplets and Netherlands als taal is te gevaarlijk. I think I pronounced that right. The idea that I would like to share with you today starts with a question, and that is, have you had trouble sleeping lately? I know I have. And I might have a solution for you. It's 3 simple words: the European Union. Yes. You see how the effect is instantaneous. Your eyes start to glaze over, your body starts producing melatonin, the sleep hormone, because your brain says, oh, this is going to be boring. I can just tune out for this whole next topic. Snooze fest. Well, guess what? Your brain has a point. In fact, I used to feel the same way about the EU. And yet, since I have been living in the European Union, I have come to find the topic of the EU oddly fascinating, largely because as a comedian, it's a great source of jokes that no one is even making on a comprehensive basis. I mean, let's start with the headquarters of the European Union, which they have chosen out of all the countries to put it in Belgium. Belgium, which is like a mini United States. It's just 2 completely separate countries, basically, that have been slapped together, although they want nothing to do with each other. It's almost like they speak 2 completely different languages. Like in America, the Belgian roads are not in the best repair. Sometimes there's no functioning national government for a year at a time, and no one seems to notice. In Belgium, you can find road signs that say, all directions, other directions, and that's just normal. That's the reaction of people saying, yeah, Belgium. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for these national stereotypes or regional stereotypes. I mean, we can start with the northern countries, Scandinavia, where if you drink a shot of Jägermeister, it actually tastes good because it's Scandinavia and you had to save up for a week to buy that much alcohol. The southern countries, otherwise known as Club Med, or the retirement land, vacation land for the EU. Who wouldn't want to take a nap as part of the middle of your day? The eastern countries, or the former Soviet Union countries, liberated from communism so we could return them to their naturally occurring state of fascism. The backbone of Europe, anchored by France and Germany. Yes, the 3rd time's the charm, unity, we are friends now. Also, the wacky neighbors of Europe, known as the UK. They used to live with us in the same house, but they had to move out because of an awkward case of Brexit. And now they pop in from time to time just to give us all a laugh. Knock, knock. What do you call a fish with no eye? Fosh. Seriously, take our fish. Anyone? We're giving them away, please. And don't forget, yes, connected to the UK, we've got the Republic of Ireland. Republic of Ireland, which translates in Gaelic to hostage, I think. Look at these poor guys. They're chained by the neck to this vagabond, derelict UK like a homeless person's dog, staring at you like, I didn't approve of any of these life choices, but here we are. So these are the rough sketch jokes that we could be making about the EU, and we could use them to perhaps understand these life and death issues that are being decided in the EU right now, like the vaccine rollout. Will we ever get a vaccine in the EU, or a comprehensive bailout, or some kind of universal recovery plan, or important issues like who will have the best pop song in all of Europe this year. And that last example is clearly not the EU, that is the Eurovision Song Contest. But the fact that your brain for just that 1 second thought, oh, I didn't know Eurovision is part of the EU, this is the problem that we're trying to address. Now, it's not your fault. The European Union is deliberately confusing, it is impenetrable and opaque. And let's go back one to that image from the European vaccines, right? How many people, just show of hands, how many people can name this politician? I'll give you a clue. She's the president of the European Commission. It's from Germany. It is, in fact, Ursula von der Leyen. And now, show of hands, how many people thought, oh, Angela Merkel, she looks really young in this photo. And again, that's not your fault. That's because in Europe, there's not just one president, there's also a European Council president, who himself is the president of all the other presidents and heads of European members of state. That's because in Europe, they always have two of everything, so that when something goes wrong, they can always look at the other one and go like, that's just not to be confused, by the way, with the rotating host of the European presidency. This time it's in Portugal. Ooh, Portugal, where no one wants to go right now, except COVID, unfortunately. And that's not to be confused with the president of the European Parliament, which is located in Brussels, except for the 1 week of the month that it's located in Strasbourg in France, the result of an awkward custody arrangement. Not part of a messy divorce, but more like a messy marriage. That is the European Union. I love this building, by the way. This is a great symbol. If you look at the top of the building, it's not really finished. It's a work in progress. That is Europe. It is the result of a compromise. And how can you tell that a compromise is a success when all parties are disappointed equally? The European Union calls to mind the phrase, a camel is a horse, designed by a committee. No wonder that it's so impenetrable and hard to understand in Europe. I think a lot of news outlets don't really give it much attention because, who even knows where to begin? It's too complex. And yet, in the United States, every 4 years, we seem to have no problem studying something very complex, the U.S. Electoral College system. I mean, now we all know that every state has a different amount of electoral votes, and they all add up to, oh no, you have to hit 270 to win, because that is, right, the majority of the 538. And, like the 538. But where does that come from? Well, that's the combination of the representatives, the 435 plus the 100, which adds up to not 538. Because, don't forget, you have to add 3 seats for the Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, in honor of Columbus, the New World's most famous racist. And once all those electoral votes are added up, they can't stop them from being counted, even by an insurrection by the Ku Klux Klan. And by the way, it was a terrible shame. I think someone should have stopped them. The Democrats, they didn't do anything. I told them when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Actually, wait, I said that for Black Lives Matter. I told them, you're very special, we love you. Go home. I mean, I think, look, every insurrection that goes unpunished is just a rehearsal, okay? I blame everyone else. I mean, and I hear you thinking, is that the guy from the, I'm getting to that. But the point being, the American electoral system, it's incredibly complex and increasingly insane. And yet, major news outlets have not such a problem to cover this story and to help us understand. And also helping us understand, maybe it's not for nothing, that America seems to have a lot of political comedy shows, like Saturday Night Live or like the late night talk shows, political comedy shows. And it works. You remember back in 2014, when a majority of young Americans said that their #1 most trusted source for news was Jon Stewart, The Daily Show, and Stephen Colbert, both on the Comedy Central network. According to the University of Southern California, when politics is the topic, laughter might be the best medicine. And this study from University of Pennsylvania just came out this past month, saying that delivering the news with humor makes young adults more likely to remember and share. Our findings show that humor stimulates activity in brain regions associated with social engagement, improves memory for political facts, and increases the tendency to share political information with others. All of this is begging the question, why is there no late-night comedy show for the EU? And maybe we could use comedy to help us understand these complex issues, like how Europe fell behind on vaccines. So that is the challenge that I'll give myself right now. Maybe I can answer this question in 3 ways. Yes, the comedy rule of 3s. And we can start off by Politico's sub-headline here. The EU secured some of the lowest prices for the vaccines in the world, but at what cost? Well, I can answer that question based on the old office poster, speed. We offer 3 kinds of services: good, cheap, and fast. Good news, you can pick 2. Germany was like, well, we want it to be good. The Netherlands was like, yes, well, we would like it to be cheap. And the rest of Europe said, could we have it fast, please? No, because we've already you can only pick 2. It will be good and it will be cheap, but it won't be fast. Now the EU calls AstraZeneca, and to quote another office poster, they're like, you want it when? Now, second reason is that the EU delayed approval of vaccines. Yeah, it took a bit longer. And whereas some countries like the US and the UK said liability laws, let's just take those off the table for a few months, 6 months, as long as it takes. But those are rules. And in Europe, we do like the rules. Rules are rules, and there can be no exception to the rules. Everybody's happier when there are rules, even if it takes a bit longer than some other countries. Third reason is they call it the EU AstraZeneca row and vaccine politics, but if you look at the underlined section, it's logistics. Yeah, AstraZeneca said it would only be able to provide the EU with about 1/4 of the vaccine doses it promised by the first quarter of this year because of unforeseen problems at a Belgian factory. What could those problems have been? Perhaps trucks getting lost because of signs that say all directions, other directions. Yes, those are 3 reasons to explain how we got to this point. Comedy reasons with the comedy rule of 3s ending on a callback. And now your brain, instead of falling asleep, is like, ooh, I know this. Yeah, I know this. I recognize that one. So this is why we need a late night comedy show in the EU. And good news is we have already existing shows on a nation-by-nation basis. In the Netherlands, we have Arjen Lubach from Zondag met Lubach. I worked with him on this video, which was so fantastic. It was totally great. The Netherlands' second video. It went so viral, back when viral was a good thing. And I've also worked with Oliver Welke in Germany, with Jan Böhmermann from Neo Magazine Royale. Jan Böhmermann, who also tried to organize a European Comedy Summit in 2018, then 2019, 2020, then Corona. I don't know if this will ever happen, but it should. And I hope I can help in some form. I do have some experience hosting my own show, Comedy Central News, because Dutch news is news too. And since 2014, I've been hosting this show on YouTube. It's called The United States of Europe, giving EU leaders the respect they deserve by ridiculing them on a regular basis. And, oops, that's me. So the challenge is to try to set up something like a European Comedy Summit, European Comedy Network. Slowly, I'm building up a network of comedy correspondents from different EU capitals from the UK. I've got Ria Lina from Mock the Week. And have I got news for you? Talking to Sebastian Marx in France. Thomas Vamos, representing not just Austria, but Hungary. And hopefully we can all come together to create something like a late night comedy show for the EU. Because if you're not in charge of your own narrative, then someone else will be. We need to be in charge, and that is why I hope we can soon say, yes, tune in to the United States of Europe, making fun of European news the American way. I'm Greg Shapiro. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Greg, for that speech. Perhaps interesting, or at least I found it interesting, is besides Arjen Lubach, I only knew Peter Böhmermann, and I think I'm one of the few, to be honest. So there's a lot of potential to be held from a late-night European talk show, I think. Our next speaker will be Melissa de Raad, and she'll be talking to us about the talent and self-determination. Let's start off with the talents that Melissa has, or at least the many occupations she has, because she's not only a master student in marketing at VU University, but she's also